What's up, my good people of the internet? Dan Tortora here with you, and we are inside a new edition of Super Powered Pop. And of course, we are here with you inside of the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne studios. Parker Banner Kent and Wayne coming to you on 21500 Catawba Ave in Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the fastest growing cities in all of America. So you can go and see them, Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne, for all of your old comics, your new release comics, and your gaming is all there at Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne. So make sure you go out and see them today and let them know that DT sent you, or you can say Super Powered Pop. We are here for a non-spoiler review of Captain America Brave New World. I literally just saw the movie. It is opening day. I saw the movie, came to the studio. So I am fresh with it here. I'm not going to give you any spoilers. We're doing no spoilers in this. So no worries for those of you that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see it, Dan. Don't give anything up. I'm not going to give anything up. I got a rule on when I do my spoiler review of any movie because I like to respect the process. I want people to go and see the movie. I want you to enjoy the movie. I want you to feel it for yourself with no preconceived notions, and I wouldn't want anybody to ruin a movie for me, so I absolutely don't want to ruin a movie for you. So this is a non-spoiler review of Captain America Brave New World. Now, those of you that remember a past Super Powered Pop broadcast, I had my predictions of what were going to happen, and those predictions I'm going to carry in my spoiler review show. So for those of you that are wondering about, did your predictions come true? Are there some of those things that happened in this movie that you thought were going to happen? Maybe some things that didn't happen. I can tell you that some of my predictions came true, and other predictions, I don't think they're maybe off the table, but didn't happen in this movie. So I'm not going to give away anything, not going to tell y'all anything. All I'm going to say is I definitely, when I do that spoiler review of Captain America Brave New World, aka Captain America 4, I will be talking about if some of my predictions came to light. So really today I'm here to talk with you about, when we talk about non-spoilers, discussing things that I took away that don't give away the plot of the movie or any special appearances or anything like that. So what I can tell you is there were some interesting things in the movie. There's some interesting things in the opening of this movie, and you'll see it when you see it, but definitely a change from some of the stuff that we've seen from Marvel before. Kind of made me think a little bit. I will say the story of this movie, and I believe they did reshoots for this, and this is a problem that movies have been having, right? You shoot the movie, you test the footage, and if it doesn't do well, then you go out here and you do reshoots, and you keep doing reshoot upon reshoot. And so to me, looking back on this, the reshoot, the fact that this movie had some reshoots here, it just, now I'm looking at this, it was one set of reshoots that lasted 22 days. So just looking at some things here, the reshoots and retooling of Captain America Brave New World. So the reason why I'm bringing up reshoots is because you could tell. You could tell. And to me, you could tell that this movie maybe had some pieces that it just seemed a little jumpy. It seemed a little choppy. It didn't seem to flow. And I can say from the other Captain America movies, which there's been 3 of them, I think they were trying to be serious in this movie, but I think they lost it in certain respects. Now, let me preface this by saying I like Anthony Mackie. I really do. I'm really happy he's Captain America. I told him so when I met him at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Atlanta, Georgia. And that happened January 20th of this year, 2025. I met him on the sidelines, got to talk with him for a second, got to shake his hand a couple times, got to say God bless you, appreciate the work that he's doing and representing Captain America. So I like Anthony Mackie. And I think that there were parts of this movie where it felt cinematic, and there were parts of this movie where it felt like cutting room floor foot, like going through test footage. So sometimes there was that heaviness to a movie like Captain America that we've come to know, or to Marvel, and the stakes are high. And other times it kind of just felt like it was missing something. So I don't know if that has to do with the reshoots. Only Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford and other people that worked on this movie can say that, because they physically could say, like, this is what it looked like, or this is what it was supposed to be like, and then they changed it. So I think there was some choppiness in this. I think there was some choppiness in the story. It felt like the story was being told quickly. It felt like they kind of wanted, and that's what my buddy said, my buddy Isaac, because he came and saw it with me. He said that it felt like the movie was faster than other Marvel movies. So I think if the reshoots had to do with the choppiness, that's something I took away. But Anthony Mackie, he's a good actor, and I think I think the story of Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten Captain America, I really like that part of this movie. I'm not going to give anything away about it. I mean, he's in the movie because he's in the previews. But and we first met him in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show on Disney Plus. So I like that Isaiah Bradley was in this movie. I like his story. I love the acting. I This movie finally answers some questions that have been kind of jokes of Marvel fans, I think, lately, of like, how does this happen and nobody talks about it? So I think Marvel is trying to bring together pieces of history that seem like they're kind of hanging out there, floating in space on their own. So I do want to say that. I think this is a movie where Marvel tries to connect to these floating paraphernalia of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it starts to bring them in, and it starts to tell a bigger story. You have to remember that with Marvel buying Fox and finally getting characters back, there's a lot of things they couldn't tell for the first decade of movies, and now that they can tell the stories, they almost have to do this patchwork, duct tape, whiteout of explaining why characters didn't exist, why certain things didn't exist. So this movie tries to piece together things that felt like they were very out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I will say that there's an attempt to do that, but again, there's some choppiness. So I think the movie was a little bit fast. I think it was choppy. I think the climax of the movie was shorter than maybe it was gonna be. That's just my thought. There's probably more to that climax than maybe what we see in the movie. I think the suits look great. I think, I don't like when you're introducing a new character into any comic book universe or fantasy universe and you show us that character. I think Thunderbolts did a good job by not showing us Sentry, and I really hope they don't between now and the beginning of May. They showed us his back. They showed his silhouette. They show him as this like shadowy figure. We see his hair. We see kind of a gold piece of his armor on his arm, but that's all we see. I don't want to see Sentry. I don't want to know what Sentry looks like before the movie comes out. I don't want it to be in a preview. I don't want it to be in a magazine. I don't want to see Sentry before Thunderbolts movie. It's a horrible thing that Marvel has been doing really since Age of Ultron, where they left nothing to our imagination, right? And seeing the Red Hulk, you already know what he looks like when you go into the movie. I think that first preview where we hear him yell and then we see him throw the shield down on the ground and we see his red leg, that was enough. There was no reason to show us the Red Hulk. There was no reason to. And I think a lot more people would have been excited for the movie, would have been anticipating the movie. And honestly, too, when you show the Red Hulk and you got weeks and months leading into the movie, it gives you more time for people to criticize the CGI and all that stuff. So, in my opinion, I would have just not done that. I would have shown Harrison Ford his hand maybe turning red, throwing, like I said, throwing the shield down, totally fine. But they showed so much of the Red Hulk that we knew exactly what he looked like. And they need to stop doing that because there's no element of surprise. And why do you have to have the toys come out months before the movie to give it away anyways? Like, why can't the toys come out after the movie? You know, I mean, movie comes out on a Thursday night, have the toys in the stores on Saturday. Like, why do we have to have these movie and TV show toys at Target and Walmart 3 months before the movie comes out? So now everybody knows what the Red Hulk looks like. And then we watch the preview and everybody knows what the Red Hulk looks like. We've waited over a decade for Red Hulk. Why can't we wait a little bit longer? And why can't we all see it in the movie? See, Spider-Man No Way Home had great elements of it because there was rumors and there was hopes and there was wishes, but we didn't know. In this Captain America movie, we know who the Red Hulk is. We know exactly what he looks like. And it's not that he looked bad in the movie. I thought he looked good in the movie. I thought he looked better in the movie than he did in the preview. But why are we seeing this in the preview? Why are we like, why? It's like when they showed Ultron and we knew exactly what Ultron looked like. Ultron goes through an evolution of his armor and you know how he decides to change his look because he's artificial intelligence, so he's constantly evolving. And I mean, Age of Ultron, we saw like the entire climactic fight in the previews. And I go back to that. I'm like, why did Marvel do that? Like, Marvel was all about the surprise. And then they started coming out with these movies, and it's like, here's the villain, here's all the characters, here's their powers, here's what it looks like, here's the main fight scene. And you're like, well, bro, why am I even watching the movie? Like, Age of Ultron, we saw the movie in the previews. It got to the point where, like, the last preview, it was like, okay, now we've seen everything. Like, the only thing we haven't seen is, like, maybe some ancillary conversations going on. But we've seen, like, the heart of the movie. And I don't want, like, Marvel, you don't have to do that. I mean, the element of surprise is going to sell more tickets. Knowing the Red Hulk is going to be in it, by hearing him groan, seeing his hand turn red, and seeing him throw the shield down, people were going to go see the movie. I think you might actually have less people see the movie because they know what the Hulk looks like. Now they've taken screenshots of it, and they've made fun of it, and they've critiqued it, and yada, yada, yada for the past few months, when we could have just seen a hand, a foot, go to the movie and actually see the full body. There's no reason why we have to give this away. So that's my big gripe with Marvel, not just with this movie, but really with so many movies they've done in recent history, is they don't leave anything to the surprise, to the imagination. You know, you wait over a decade for a character to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why can't we wait a few more months to see what they made that look like? Why do we have to see Harrison Ford full body before the movie comes out? So I didn't like that. I did like the Red Hulk in the movie. I'm not going to say anything about it because it's a non-spoiler review. Like I said, I think the costuming was great. I thought the connection to floating objects in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that have no connection to anything, seemingly, they're trying to connect them. I thought that was good. Things make sense in the preview, so I like that. I love that Isaiah Bradley's in this because I think he's got an untold story that I still think even after this movie, I still feel like there's more that we could learn about Isaiah Bradley. So, and that's not giving anything away. I'm just saying, like, we saw him in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We know he's in this movie because of the preview. I want to know more about Isaiah Bradley. I think I got to be easy on this one. I think Marvel in this movie, Kevin Feige and the crew really tried to like put things together that, because you got to remember there's been like recasting and whatnot. You know, William Hurt sadly passed away, who was General Thunderbolt Ross. May he rest in peace in heaven. with his loved ones up there, and may his loved ones here on earth be safe and sound as well. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, in Jesus' most precious name. God bless you, William. Thank you for the work you did. You know, I mean, knowing that they had to recast Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross and it's Harrison Ford, I mean, that's something we had to get used to. So I think they're in this movie they're trying to do things on screen that us true Marvel Cinematic Universe fans have tried to piece together. I think they're trying to piece together a greater world, right? So I think that's it. I think after seeing this movie, Brave New World, the title doesn't really work. I think New World Order actually works more. That was the first title for it. I think it actually works more with the story that's told here. Again, reshoots, changing things after you already start them. I think New World Order makes perfect sense after seeing this movie, but they didn't want to use that because there's a lot about New World Order in the actual real world that we live in and the scariness of people that use that term and what it means. So I understand them changing it, but I actually think this movie was made still with that theme. So Brave New World, I don't know if I see the word brave in this. I think I think confused New World makes more sense. I think up in the air New World. I think we're trying to figure out what the world is after Avengers Endgame, right after the death of Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. And I think Brave New World gives you the belief that something's been figured out. And I feel like all this movie did was make things even more chaotic. I like the characters. I think their stories could have been told better. Like I said, I think things were rushed. I think the movie had deep, sincere moments, but like I said, I think the movie was choppy. There was Anthony Mackie moments in the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie, and at the end of the movie it felt like a real movie, and at the beginning of the movie it just felt different. It felt like test footage. And like I said before, so I mean, was the movie colorful? Yes. Was the movie high stakes? Yeah, I think they toned it down a little bit. I think they could have definitely told the story, but I think the story just could have been told better. Again, choppiness. Is that because of reshoots? And so I don't think it was a terrible movie. I think it was a disservice to Anthony Mackie as Captain America, honestly, because I don't fault his acting. I love his suit. I love that he still has Falcon elements to himself. That's not giving anything away because we see that in the previews. So I really honestly do. I think there should have been a better story for the quality of acting that we had. I think there should have been a better overarching story for the characters that are in this movie. I think, again, the stakes are high, and as high as they were, they felt very contained in this movie. So, was it aesthetically pleasing as far as the look of it? Sometimes, yeah. Was the action good? Yeah. Were the fight scenes good? Yeah. Did the costumes look good? Yeah. Did Red Hulk look good? Yeah. I just felt like the story wasn't told as completely as it could have been. I think there was more side conversations to have. I feel like there was more development to do. It kind of felt like a movie that was an episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier as opposed to being a movie. I guess that's the best way I can put it. And I'm being honest about this, and at the same time, like, I want to be clear that I want you to go see this movie. I like what they tried to do, and I like all of the characters who either got introduced or accentuated in their story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just don't think they did justice to the actors in the overarching story that could be told and could have been developed better and could have taken more time. And again, I don't know if this is because, and this is the thing too, it's like when you make a movie, right? You make a movie and you test it, and oh, these people didn't like it. And listen, not everybody's going to like a movie. People are anal about ridiculous things. And I think people in today's America love to complain because, first world problems. And, you could sit there and eat Cheerios and tell everybody on social media that you hate them and wish bad things for them when you're doing absolutely nothing with your life. And, these actors and actresses are out there working hard, directors, producers, set designers, costume designers, lighting directors, audio. There's so many people working on these projects, stunt people. And I wonder what the original Captain America Brave New World story looked like. And again, I think New World Order, as much as I don't like that terminology for actual America or the world, because it doesn't speak to great things, I think that where Marvel is heading now, I think keeping it as New World Order would have played even better into Thunderbolts with the head of the CIA actually working for Hydra, with Madam Hydra being at the top of it, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I feel like New World Order would have been the better terminology to use of what's happening. It just felt like the stakes of this movie that were so high were like minimized. They were minimized by the news. They were minimized by a lot of things. It just felt like they tried to go way out, and then they would just like get really tight back in. So I feel like this had the workings of being a really good movie, and I thought the acting was good. I don't have any problem with any of the acting in there. Nothing seemed stupid or cheesy or ridiculous. Like, I think the acting was good. I don't think any of the actors looked like they were forced or that they were on the set of a movie. So I don't put it on that. I just think the storytelling could have been better. And I honestly think this movie could have been longer. I think it could have been substantially longer. I think it would have made sense to have some characters in this movie. I think it would have made sense to dig a little bit deeper into the why of a lot of things. I think they toyed with a lot of stuff. And maybe this is the movie to jump us off into the new world that we're going to see. I will say the post-credit scene blows everything up in its own way. And not blows everything up like takes the story and then erases it. It just makes everything a whole lot bigger. So I can understand why that was in there. But again, I feel like I don't want to rush to these things. I know Avengers Doomsday is coming out and Avengers Secret Wars and yada yada, but I just don't feel like we need to rush to tell the story. I mean, I think one of the problems with Disney and Marvel right now is they had so much success with Thanos. They had so much success with telling this overarching story of a decade of all of these fights and all of these bad guys and all of these things going on, and then but while they were winning all these battles, there was a war, an Infinity War, to be started. And I just feel like they're rushing to try and like make everything this blockbuster success, this massive thing. And it doesn't need to be like that. Like, we don't have to go from one movie with 50 characters to another movie with 50 characters. I think we have to go back to telling the stories again. And I don't know if they're like doing this whole thing where it's like, well, we're not going to tell stories on the big screen anymore. We're going to tell the stories on the small screen on Disney Plus and make you buy Disney Plus, that they keep jacking the price up on, which I think is really unfair to people. And so you like want everybody to watch the stories on Disney Plus and then go to the movies and be like, and the movies are always big and they got to be huge and all this stuff. And I just feel like the big screen should be a place to develop these characters again. And I feel like Marvel and Disney, they took 10 years to tell Thanos' story, and now I feel like they want to tell like the next giant massive, you know, universal story in like 5 years, 2 years, 4 years. And I don't like the rush. I think there needs to be a buildup, you know. You built up over time to these massive Infinity War and Endgame movies, and they were fantastic. So then that ends, right? And now you build again for 10 years with this overarching story. You know, you have Ant-Man 3, and you have this massive Kang the Conqueror story where you have this Avengers level threat and he gets beat up by Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man's daughter. And then you wanted to make all these movies with this guy, and it's like he's already a non-factor. Like, you beat him, it's over. But why did that movie have to have the stakes so high? Because after Endgame, I feel like every individual character's movie they're trying to make bigger than anything. Spider-Man No Way Home, now that was a fantastic movie, but think about how big they made that. It's like everything has to be this massive movie, and it doesn't have to be this massive movie. You have to tell the story. And, you know, this Captain America movie, it let me down, not because of the actors and the actresses, not because of how it looks, not because of the CGI. It let me down because I don't feel like they're trying to tell these stories. I feel like they're trying to rush us through all of this conversation to just get us back to an Avenger level threat. And that's not how you made your decade of movies. That's not how you made your money. That's not how you made your success. You told us each of the stories individually. And you got to keep in mind, some people did not watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Some people did not buy Disney Plus because they don't want to buy a ton of streaming services that packed together cost more than the cable that they just got rid of. You cut the cord to cable, you don't want to spend 70, 80, 90, $150 a month on buying every single streaming service. So some people didn't see The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then they go watch this movie and they're like, who's Isaiah Bradley? Why has he got the suit on? How come he's Captain America? Like, you have to watch the Disney Plus shows in order for these things to make sense. And the Disney Plus Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show was so good, in my opinion. It was the first TV show that they did for Marvel. And it was so Marvel Cinematic Universe, I should say, for Marvel Studios, because the first Marvel TV shows were actually before that on Netflix. But the ones they did with Marvel Studios for Disney Plus, like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was a great story. And it feeds into Thunderbolts, it feeds into the new Captain America, it feeds into the new Falcon, it feeds into all these things. But it feeds into the Super Soldier Serum and Isaiah Bradley and all of these super powered people. But not everybody watched the TV show. And then you go and do this movie, and even I, who saw the TV show, felt like this movie was rushed. I felt like it was like episode 10 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or episode 11, like it was a continuation instead of like being an actual movie. They don't need to rush through these stories. They don't need to speed everything up to get back to a massive big bad. We know Doom is coming, but why does Doom have to be here in 2 years? Why can't Doom be here in 8 years? You're going to give us the Fantastic Four this year. You gave us a new Captain America, a new Falcon, a new Hulk, the Thunderbolts, Sentry, and then all of a sudden it's Doomsday? Why? Doomsday should be 4 or 5 years from now. Well, Dan, people won't be patient for it. Yeah, they will. They were patient the first 10 years. They'll find out how to do it again. See, the worst thing is when you get to the top of the mountain and then you're like, you forget how you got there. Marvel forgot how they got to the top of the mountain. That's what happened. They forgot how they got to the top of the mountain. They systematically, over time, told individual stories and found a wonderful way to orchestrate them into this beautiful interwoven blanket of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now they're trying to rush all these stories, and when the blanket's done, like all the patches look weird, and it doesn't make a Marvel logo. It just makes like a bunch of random squiggly lines and different colors. I think Marvel needs to take their time. I think the directors need to work together. I think Kevin Feige has to remember what they built and how they built it. Don't, you know what I mean? You don't have to rework the wheel here, right? DC has done things wrong for so long, and now James Gunn took it over, and I think DC is going to do it right now. I think Marvel needs to be on alert, honestly. And if DC, saw Marvel writing these stories and doing things a certain way and they tried to rush to catch up and it didn't work, why is Marvel rushing up to catch up with itself now to become the new DC? DC is going to be better under James Gunn, and now Marvel's trying to rush itself like DC was trying to rush to catch up with it. Stop rushing to catch up with yourself. You don't have to make an endgame movie every 2 years. Just make a good movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. But don't that shouldn't scare them away from making Earth level heroes, right? Heroes that are on the ground. It shouldn't scare them from that. I think there's a lot of elements in this Captain America thing that I wish that they played with longer. And I wish that they drew out longer. And I wish that it took longer to figure things out. And it took longer to bring things together, because it was choppy. It was choppy. And if it comes from the reshoots, it just makes me like reshoots less and less than I already do. And because I understand some things need to be reshot, but when you try to, sometimes you do it to the point where you just like change the movie. And I don't want to see that, right? So I do think that there's a lot of good in this movie. I think there's a lot that we could take away from this movie. I just would like this movie to have been done in such a way where it was Captain America's story and not just Disney trying to pack in as much as they possibly could so that they could sell all their other movies that are coming up. I think they kind of missed the boat on the individual story of trying to get to the bigger story instead of just letting this movie be in and of itself really, really good and really well told. Because, now it's like, well, does Captain America even matter? Or is it just like, okay, now it's Anthony Mackie. We saw him for a little while. And now he's just going to like go into this, like this big thing. Like I want this story to be told. I want Sam Wilson's story to be told the way that Steve Rogers' story was told. It was all about Steve and his friends and his unit and his family and things that affected him. And then they eventually got bigger and bigger to the world, right? It was like Captain America, it was Steve Rogers, and it was World War II, and it was Nazi Germany, and it was Red Skull, but then it was Hydra. We thought we killed it, but we didn't kill it, and the scientist is still alive. Then it reaches out to Black Widow, then it reaches out into these other things. Then there's a history with Tony Stark's dad, and it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And I love that. I feel like this movie was like, here's a million things at once. But where was the story? And I think the acting in this, I think the people that were involved in this should have had a better story. That's what I believe. So I will be breaking down what I saw in this movie with spoilers coming up here in a few days, but I wanted to give you my immediate reaction to the movie. I am a fan of Anthony Mackie. I am a fan of Captain America. I am a fan of The Shield, and I'm a fan of what it stands for. And I think there was good stuff in here. I think there was good messaging in here. I think there was the, belief that anyone can be Captain America. Anybody can be a hero, regardless of where they started, where they came from, how much money they have, what color they are, yada, yada, yada. And I think that that was a beautiful story to tell. But you really didn't get that story fully from this movie. You got it if you watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and then you watch this movie. Because the story of Isaiah Bradley is told far deeper in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you don't feel for him as much as you would feel for him if you didn't see the TV show. Like, if you just see this movie and you didn't see the TV show, you might feel bad for Isaiah Bradley, but you don't feel like his pain of decades. So, I think Disney's doing a great job of trying to force you to get Disney Plus. But for everything they did with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this should have been more than just the next episode. That's how I feel. So, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good takeaways, a lot of things I can't say in this non-spoiler review. I just think the story could have been better. So with that being said, this has been Superpowered Pop inside the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne studios. Head to Parker Banner Kent and Wayne for your comics and gaming needs 7 days a week on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A, Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. They are our studio partner exclusively, and they are my number one pick for all things comic and gaming. Head over to Parker Banner Kent and Wayne. Thanks to Matt Milburn and the entire team. Thanks to you for watching and listening. We'll be with you soon, and as you always know here on Superpowered Pop, your hero lies within.